This is Hidden Killers Live with Tony Bruschi, Stacey Cole, and Todd Michaels.
David, or D4VD, if you're playing along at home going, David, what's David? That's David. If you've been hearing about this case of the R&B singer who had the 15-year-old in his trunk, that's this story. And we're going to dive into it. Retired FBI Special Agent Robin Dreeke is here to join us and help us break this whole thing down. To put it into context a little bit, let's rewind a little bit. September 8th, 2025, the body of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez found wrapped in plastic in the trunk of a Tesla registered to David. She'd been missing since April of 2024. The car had been abandoned, towed, and only discovered after impound staff smelled something. And then they looked in the trunk. And in a Tesla, that's in the front of the car. And they found, from what we're understanding, a dismembered body wrapped in plastic. No charges filed. Cause of death is still pending. There was enough on the body to recognize that there was a tattoo that said, "Shh," on her hand. The same tattoo that David happens to have, and it also happens to be kind of one of his, slogans, memes. I don't know what you want to call it. It's a creepy case. He's a fairly macabre artist, but macabre doesn't always necessarily mean you're out killing people. Robin, when you first heard about the missing child discovered in his car, what was standing out to you right away? What was the first thing that hit your mind? What were you wondering?
I got a quick flash of Diddy in my mind. We all did. Just like, wow, here's another music artist kind of going off the rails, potentially. And I always caveat things with potentially. And I think this really goes to the mindset of how we do what we do. And that is, I start immediately with, all right, what is a typical profile of someone in... So we have a dead person found in someone's car, and I start looking at law of averages, and I look at profiles of what typically happens, and then just look for deviations from that. So the first thing I did get was, wow, this is just another Diddy type of situation. But then we have the age bracket in here too, and this is also, boy, I know, what a long answer. I have so many things that go through my mind.
There's a lot. No, I know. There's so many pieces to this.
And I think this is a key element of this too, because there's potentially things in here, if he is accused, if he's tried on this, and just the ages of both of them, because this goes to a lot of cases we've been covering, guys, and that is, I have said this routinely about Koberger, about the assassin of Kirk, and I say these people are stupid. And that they're morons. And we've had some pushback saying, oh, no, these people tested high on IQ tests and they have great grades. And no, so here's what I want to mention in these things. When I say people are morons and stupid that are committing these crimes, because I'm always looking at their emotional intelligence, because emotional intelligence is the true ability for someone to function in society. IQ can be off the charts, but they're still emotionally so inept that they do stupid things. And then when you hit the age group like this guy's in, again, boy, I'm really jumping ahead. If we look at the age group of people that have been doing these types of things, that's before the prefrontal lobe's fully formed, and so they're so given to emotional impulse without any kind of regulation going on there, that it's really stupid acts that happen. And so that's what really hit me on this one, was that if I'm looking at law of averages, a dead body found in a car. I looked up the stats, believe it or not. I think it's like 80 or 90%. Oh, here it is. 70, 90% of the people found in a person's car is the killer is the owner of the car.
So the odds aren't in his favor if we're playing the odds game right now.
No, they're not. Yeah. And then you look at behavior arcs, because then that's when I start doing my deep dive of behavior arcs, of tattoos, of music, of timing, and then I'll just, that's what I do. Yeah. So that's the first thing. Those are the first million things that hit my mind.
There's so many things on this, and I want to note to anybody listening to this right now or watching this. We're recording this on Friday the 26th, and this is a very fast-moving case. There's a lot of things that are going on. I would not be remotely surprised that if you're not watching us live right now, by the time you're watching this in its replay or when we post it in sections, in segments, they may have already arrested him. So let that be known. So because you get they already arrested. Yeah. Yes, there's time windows as to which this works. So we are aware, but we don't know. As of this moment in time, no charges. As of this moment, maintaining his innocence. I've heard mixed reports now from several different sources that he's cooperating with investigators, and I've also heard nobody knows where the hell he is. There's so much misinformation right now. It's very difficult, and you get a lot of misinformation when there's not a lot coming out about it as well. And look, law enforcement has no obligation to the public at this moment in time while they're in an active investigation to tell us much of anything. They have to figure out what the heck's going on. Let's speak to that for a second. And again, this moment may be dated shortly, but it applies to a lot of investigations because we haven't heard a whole lot out of them as of this moment. Why do you think that may be from law enforcement?
On which side, Tony? The David's side or the
from law enforcement side on this with the investigation going on?
I'm thinking again. I'm going to go glass half full, and law enforcement doing a great job. And
sure.
I would say they are preoccupied with a lot of data coming in. They just conducted searches. They're doing a lot of interviews. They're trying to quickly establish whether they have enough to actually detain and arrest him prior to him being able to move and flee with the resources he has. And so I'm thinking that they are so focused on getting what they need to do to make an arrest that they don't want to focus on anything else. And also, if they give any leakage, so this talks to also the experience potential level of their media reps and what they're being advised to do. If you're not quite sure on what you're going to say is going to hurt what you're currently doing, it's best to say nothing, because again, if it's fast moving and they don't want to give any hints or ideas that they're really on to him as a suspect, which would give him reason to flee, it's better to say nothing. I think it's just because it's so fresh, it's so early. I mean, this only happened a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah, I mean, doesn't he have to know that they're onto him? I mean, that they're certainly watching him. I mean, I don't. Is there anything they could do at this point that would make him flee? I mean, they're in his house. They're going through his stuff. Last night we were reporting from Brian Enton saying that they're breaking down the drain system of the house.
Yep. I watched that too.
Yeah, to see if there was body fluids and stuff in the drain system. So if he did it, he's got to know he's going to be caught very, very quickly. Again, not that they have any obligation to tell us much of anything, but I'm going to assume it's more so let's find some solid piece of evidence here that links him directly so we don't go in too quick. Yeah,
again, you just don't know the experience level of the police department and their media people. You really don't. I mean, we've seen it all over the place. The Koberger case started out horrendously with their lack of communication. Then they started getting their shit together. Yeah, kinda. We give that a lot of credit to the victims, obviously, on that one. And then you have your case where do you live again?
In Arkansas, in the over here where Sarah Huckabee called this out.
Yeah, which is a complete disaster on communication. So I really just think it's a level of their competence when it comes to media reps.
And there's not a danger to the public per se in this case. It seems. No. I mean, this is someone. I'm assuming they probably know where he is. Probably have eyes on him. And if it was an attempt to flee, I would think that they'd be on it at this moment in time. But there's just so many questions that are left unanswered. Stacey, when you saw
I'm sorry to interrupt, Tony, because I think that's a really key important point here about his age level and experience level is very, very low. So when I first started out, the first impressions I had is Diddy-ish, except the difference is Diddy had decades of reps. And his entourage around him too, the age, and so, if he's a suspect, which I think he's obviously is going to be a suspect, he's very young. His entourage around him is very young, very immature. So there's not a lot of really good planning that anyone's doing that's going to be able to hide him if he's trying to. So that's why I don't think they're worried.
Yeah, and Diddy-ish in the standpoint of lack of care for or empathy, it seems, for other humans, if in fact he has anything to do with this. But the entourage, I mean, the atmosphere, the culture around, somebody in the culture around thought this was a good idea, whether it's him or somebody, we don't know who or why, that putting a body in the trunk of the Tesla was going to be a A-OK way of getting rid of a body. Stacey, when you saw the video initially, the music video where he's putting the body, I mean, he's playing the victim and the killer in the video, just the macabre elements of it, the darkness that it has, and then you hear that there's a body literally in this guy's trunk. What was your reaction?
Well, sometimes life imitates art and art imitates life. I'm wondering if there wasn't some sort of an accident of some sort. Something went wrong and they panicked. And that was what they knew. And they just decided, well, let's try this. But again, how dumb are you? Go rent a car, go steal a car, something, don't get your own car, dumbass.
I just want a clip of that, of Stacey calling him a dumbass.
Double down on stupid again. I'm just really,
I'm serious.
These people are just so stupid. I just, when you're covering cases that are so horrendous, the arc in all of them is just stupid people doing stupid things. And it's tragic and sad for the victims. I
mean, if you play this out, I mean, there's two roads that this could go. Either he put the body there or he didn't put the body there. If he did put the body there, then you have to go down the road of, okay, what happened? Was this a murder? Was this an accident? And that will certainly determine a lot of things. But the sheer fact that the body is there, that would be insane. Is that him in some sort of weird way having his art live through his life? Or to me, it almost feels in a weird way of, is this someone that's really trying to set him up? And it looks even more macabre that there's a body in the trunk of the guy who has the music video of the body in the trunk. I'm trying to wonder if this is some sort of real weird twisted art type piece, a la Brian Kohberger, where I want to go do it to experience it, or I'm very macabre, I'm very dark, and I'm gonna go live this experience, and then I'll be that much more experienced to create art and music around it. That sounds insane, but so does the idea that Brian Kohberger killed 4 people for educational purposes.
Yeah, Kohberger's always a challenging one to reference anyone to because he had such a broken brain. I mean, he's pure psychopathy when we just talk in terms of Predator. David doesn't strike me the same just because there's more substance to that background. The other thing we're also missing with him too, and I tried as hard as I could, there's a lot of data points missing on his life arc from here. We know he was homeschooled, we know he single mom, religious background, but other than that, we don't have a lot. What we do have, we have data points on the type of music he created, the themes of the music he created, the tattoos. So we have limited data points. When it comes to young 20-year-olds, I don't give a lot of credence to anyone having big plans or being very smart about what they do. Now here, and you mentioned the idea of a potential setting him up or framing him, and I know some people want to go down that road. I always say in the cases like this, I always say maybe. But in particular with this, if your car's missing, you're going to notice your car's missing for a period of time. So that's why he's involved. So here's why I think it's safe to say, because it's his vehicle, because he didn't report the vehicle being missing or stolen, he's involved in some way. I think that's pretty safe to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly the odds of this being is set. I mean, how often do we see that actually being the case? So that's what we see in movies a lot. Exactly. Is that the answer? Just never in reality? Just never?
Never. Not yet. Better is a good way to put it. Not yet.
got to be a first at some point, right?
They become the outliers, and then that's why we always say maybe. We go where the stats go. We go where the investigation goes. But the law of averages. In fact, God, I hate to chuckle when people die. It's not about her death, but what happens is it becomes the stats and the profiles are so against him in this one that it becomes laughable.
Innocent till proven guilty. As of right now, not charged with anything, but obviously
other than stupidity.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
That's an easy one.
What if it was somebody else who had the car? Then is it stupidity for? I mean, I guess it would be stupidity on the level of letting someone else use your vehicle.
Well, and to Robin's point, why wouldn't you report it? Why wouldn't you miss your car? I mean, I freak out if I can't find my car in a parking ramp.
Yes, I've done that a few times too. But I mean, keep in mind, he's a celebrity, meaning probably not necessarily grounded in a lot of reality at the same time, of material possessions in the same way we would relate to those sort of things, and care and concern for that, especially when you're 20 and you're driving around in a Tesla and you've known this kind of fame since the age of 15. You probably have a bit of a warped mind. You have a mind that's probably, has not adjusted the way the rest of the world would have, or the way another mind would have, not being in that sort of spotlight or situation with that level of adoration for a growing brain. Celeste was missing for 17 months, from April of 24 to September of 25. Reports suggest she ran away multiple times, with police retrieving her once in Hollywood. The gap, shows us that there's the prolonged influence, possibly. Grooming is the word I'm seeing being thrown around here quite a bit. I don't know how long these two knew each other. We don't know if they did know each other officially yet, but I mean, judging by the evidence that's out there, it looks like there was some sort of a relationship. We're talking at a time where he would have been underage, possibly, and she was also underage. We're now in a world where obviously she is dead. She'd have been 15, he'd have been 20 now. I would not be okay with that as a parent by any means, but you go back a few years and it would have, it still would have been weird. I don't see any way where this would not have been weird. I'm trying to think of the senior freshman type thing where one's a few years older, and when you're in your late 20s, 30s, 40s, that age gap doesn't matter. But now it really does matter. It's creepy as shit that this was going on. And if this did go all the way back to earlier in his career, it would have put her at 12 or something when they started seeing each other. So you have that. A lot of people are saying that they believe that these are just sources around him saying they thought that this was his girlfriend, and that they had no idea that this child was 15. They all thought that she was older, that she presented as older, and he allegedly presented her as older. At least never said flat out, "Hey, look, she's this young." What do you make of that end of all this and the decision-making processes?
It's intentional. So she had a lot of fake IDs. Apparently, she is claiming to be older than she was. She had run away from home multiple times. So she had life reps when it comes to experiencing life outside of a very cloistered home. So that would give a presentation to people in that age group as being potentially older, even if she didn't necessarily look older. And and his behavior with going again, these are such difficult, challenging things to do, because as I'm looking at it, and I was looking online about how they potentially met. Again, it's all potential. Is that she was watching him on a lot of TikTok videos, and because that's where he got his initial fame from. And if you're learning about someone online in an online community in a very 5-second highlight reel kind of way, it's easier to develop a relationship, I would think, irrespective of age. And then when you meet each other, so think about this. So if he is going to have a slightly immature aspect about himself because of what he's doing and who he is, and she's got a slightly more mature aspect because of her of her life reps of constantly putting herself out there in the real world, running away from home and such. Somewhere in the middle, they're going to kind of balance out. So I know that word grooming's been out there, and grooming does take place with that age gap about 5 years. But at the same time, though, it's not as profound as I've seen, because typically at this age we're seeing kind of middle 20s to late 20s if we're actually got a true grooming thing. So I'm not discounting it, but I'm just it's a little. All these things with the situation are kind of mainstream of what we see, but there are some outlier aspects to it. Is a better way to put it. And the tattoo thing really struck me on this one, because they're mentioning that with grooming. I saw, so you're always looking for what I think first. When I first saw that tattoo, the first thing that popped in my mind, the first word I thought of was branding. Branded his. And so, which is an element, because what I did then was I said, well, let's look at, because here's where my curiosity sparked. Let's look at the behaviors the positive, negative behaviors between matching tattoos, as well as where's the overlay with his typical music that he composes. And so the overlay is control, insecurities, dark themes, dark relationships. And so that's where the overlay happened between those two. So that's what that's where I'm thinking on this
that's where it gets. That's where it feels like is it the art imitating life? Is it life imitating art?
I think the art's an expression of the emotions he has. I mean, so when it came to his art, where I really thought of originally was Taylor Swift, believe it or not, because she puts her relationships out in her songs and how she sees the world, and a lot of artists do that. More profound with some, I think, and I think I got the same sense of him as well. It's like, this is how he sees the world through this kind of it's an intimate, dark relationship kind of way. Anyway, that was what I was thinking of that.
The good news is, though, with Taylor, the art expression doesn't end with a body in the trunk. There's that.
Although maybe wanted to.
Well, there have been a few. Yeah, there's a few rage songs that she's had that just, she was pissed. You can feel it. They're great songs to play when you've been wronged, but nobody ended up dead.
No dark themes. So those were relationships that ended poorly from her perspective, but no dark themes. His themes are always dark, because actually, what's the lyric? Song lyrics.
I really would like you to sing this lyric when you pull it up, Robin.
Never.
Let's do a beat.
Tony, I've listened to you sing a few times on the show now, and I'll say it.
He's an FBI guy, not a singer.
FBI karaoke is what we're going to start doing here on
our strength here.
The only stuff I would do would be Elvis.
Can you do the David lyric in an Elvis voice?
Yeah, let's do that.
No, I'm laughing because
just do every line with thank you very much at the end. It'll be great.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
what's the lyric? Let's hear the lyric in the Elvis voice from Robin.
No.
Yeah.
No.
No.
I'm going like 6 pages of notes right now trying to find it anyway.
Yeah. But there are a lot of questionable things certainly with the content. There is a lot of there's a lot of.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Romantic Homicide was it? That's his main one. His lyrics often explore dark themes of obsession, heartbreak, and violence, like in Romantic Homicide. And here's the lyric: "Is I want to make you feel suicidal, feeling speculation of emotional manipulation and threats." That's a key line in there.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. When I listen to music, I like to listen to it because I can relate to it, because it's something that makes me, feel good, or makes me, just kind of let emotions out, things of that nature. I can't think of any time I'd be listening to the lyrics of a song and go, I want to make you feel suicidal.
So he's a great
I don't know where that's ever gonna.
So think about it though. Who's this attract then? And you're right. It's like, even when when people ask me, so, when I bring in clients to where I'm going to coach or teach or give keynotes to, people always say, so, do you have to screen clients? I said, generally, I don't really have to do too much, because if you're attracted to my messaging, which is about being very optimistic, building trust, building healthy, strong relationships, understanding others, being able to predict behavior, I'm going to attract typically people that are into that. And so same thing here, though. It doesn't make sense to us because we don't have that mindset. But who would be attracted to this is those people that actually have that idealization potentially, or they have those things running through their mind, fears inside. So music attracts us to things that make us feel, remember, we're going to consume information. It validates our own self-opinion and actually echoes in our own echo chamber. So and here's the darkness of this too, because we've been covering a lot of the self-radicalization with other people right now recently, these other horrendous, misguided people. And when you think about dark music can be really a form of self-radicalization as well, where you start going inside these echo chambers, especially when it's because this isn't a typical music environment, although it's evolved in that, where most of his notoriety and fame came through TikTok, which is nothing but an algorithm-fed self-radicalization tool, really.
Yes, run by the Chinese.
Yeah.
To make us all upset and hate each other.
Can we just put nice music out there for everyone?
I don't think you would see this with Christopher Cross.
No.
I don't think, it's like, say, the words, the original lyrics to Sailing, take me away to where I'm going so I can dump your body where no one can see. Did you know that? Original lyrics, sailing takes me away to dump your body when no one can see. But now it's got an
upbeat feeling to it.
When you take a look at like The Weeknd, the singer The Weeknd, he is really dark. And I didn't realize that until I saw some of his videos. I knew his songs were about like redemption and substance abuse and isolation and what it's like being a celebrity, but I didn't realize how dark his stuff was. If you look at his videos, if you look at how he really leans into the art form, there's a lot of artistic makeup and things like that. It's very violent looking. It changed how I listened to his music. It made me a little uncomfortable because I go to music to be uplifted and for optimism. It just really bothered me. And I love his music. I love his sound, but just that portrayal of the darkness, it wasn't like an Ozzy Osbourne darkness. It was more of a weaved into the music, and it was part of the package. Whereas Ozzy was just like right in your face. I'm the dark one, Well,
yeah, and also, and Stacey, these are great points too, because also depends on if you are the writer of your own music or not too, because I love this music talk. We've never done this before.
I know, I love it.
So one of my favorite artists, because she is, in my mind, she's so talented as a writer and a performer and everything, is Lady Gaga. Yes. And I loved Abracadabra because I
was just going to say that.
Because I love the making of it when she talks about it, because it's the chaos in her mind that she's going through. So music, when it's written by and performed by the person, really gives you data points on their arc and helps you understand them at that deeper level, like you understand Gaga at that deeper level, which I really enjoy part of it too. Same thing with Taylor Swift, whether you like her or not. I mean, it is really, you can see her life arc and journey through what she does and what she performs. And so to David's point too, he writes his own content and performs his own content, not stuff that's written for him. So you can really gain a deeper understanding of where his mind's at. And when you see, so part of my assessment what this was understanding he writes and performs his own content with those deep, dark themes. Then you look at these other data points that are coming in, the type of people like this girl that Celeste being gravitated towards that. So there's most likely data points that reinforce those things about her. She runs away from home a lot, comes from a very similar home, from the sounds of it, from what I've seen on social media as he does. So there's a lot of commonality there, reinforcing each other, like cascading. And then you put, teenager and 20-year-old together with stupid things, and stupid things happen.
Can we take his lyrics and bring them into a court case? I mean, do these lyrics somehow implicate him in this crime?
It's really interesting. I think they'll be looking. So here, now I'll put my investigator hat back on. So I would be looking at that as potential clues, because there's no coincidences in everything. There's always some sort of. I'm always seeing what leakages there are, and so I think I think is a good way to put it. I think there's potential leakage in his lyrics, whether it's directly tied to her or is tied to his mindset. And because it seems that there seems to be a very interesting overlay with, especially his recent one with, killing someone and putting a body in the back of a car in a trunk, even though it was his own body. As the investigator, I'd be looking at potential leads that I could get through his lyrics or ideas about directions to go, because it seems to be an expression of himself and a kind of cathartic self-medicating, and it does with a lot of artists. I think is that it's a way to kind of work through challenge. Some people journal, some people write lyrics, some people go for runs. So I think this might be his outlet to working through his own life challenges. And so if that's the case, it's almost like reading his lyrics is almost like reading his journal.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think to answer your question, Stacey, about could that be used in court, they didn't use any of Diddy's lyrics in his trial.
Right.
Yeah.
So they didn't use any of R. Kelly's lyrics in his trial either. So the answer is probably no. But does it tell us a lot about what's going on? Does it put some context to it? Certainly, without a doubt. But is that something that would be admissible in court? I mean, if it is true, and this is an if as of right now, if there is that song Celeste that they found in his house, that would be admissible because it is directly relating to her with her name in the title. Something like that would be, but just to grab some lyrics from some song that doesn't necessarily have a direct tie to a specific thing, that would be, I think, different.
Yeah, and defense would rip that apart pretty quickly as just being art. And so, because you painted a depiction of a murder or homicidal situation, does that make you a killer? So I think defense would rip that apart. Now, what I think they might be able to do, again, I'm not the lawyer, as you guys know, I would look for if they could actually get data and evidence that would actually say, hey, here's linkages between the two. So they could actually establish a pattern of, hey, here's a situation where his lyrics actually matched up one for one with X, Y, and Z. And so if you're going for extra data points, it'd actually show an arc of congruence between those two. And so if they're looking to fill a gap, say, well, if this lyric in this song matched up exactly with this evidence, and this matched up with this evidence, then here we have another lyric. We don't have quite evidence here, but they can present it to a jury. Says, hey, well, logically, this would actually follow that parallel evidence.
Well, and when we look at this, we're talking about the David case, and we're talking about where this is all going as of right now. And as I've said before, it should be noted, we're recording this on Friday the 26th of 2025 in September. He has not been arrested. He has not been charged. He is innocent until proven guilty. We are talking about a lot of this allegedly, hypothetically, what if, as a lot of evidence that we're seeing on the outside seems to point in a specific direction, but we'll let the authorities ultimately come up with that. Right now, it's just a lot of speculation. Unhealthy certainly attracts unhealthy. And I think we can all recognize that in our own lives when we've been in difficult situations or had a dark time or a moment. Sometimes you do. You lean into darker things. And that could be darker music that relates to how you're feeling. It could be, writing. It could be movies. It could be, Lifetime. But sometimes you get stuck in those places and you continue to absorb it. And then that perpetuates a cycle, which is a scary thing about social media and TikTok, which is where David got his fame. If you're into that sort of content, or if you're just visiting because it's a dark moment and this sort of speaks to you cathartically at that moment in time. And I'm not judging. I'm sure you could find lyrics in this music. I'm sure almost anybody could probably find some lyrics in this music and go, okay, I could relate to that in some way, shape, or form at some point in my life. Not necessarily putting bodies in trunks, but when you have that, you get sucked in sometimes too, especially when it feeds you over and over and over. Oh, you like more of this? You want some more dark? Is this going to feed that itch? And you just get digging deeper and deeper and deeper. That's my long preface and setup to the question I have for Stacey. When you were talking earlier about The Weeknd, and you love his music, but you've realized kind of how dark some of it can be. And we're not like, oh, he's the devil, he's satanic, or anything like that. But just it's a darker content. Were you more drawn to that at a time in your life where you were more in an unhappier place versus when you're in a happier place? Are you drawn to it now? Are you drawn to it the same way and want to listen to it the same when you were then?
You know, it's interesting that you bring that up, and forgive me, I muted myself because they were mowing the lawn quite loudly outside my window.
Sorry, I'm in a campground, Stacey, so you're good.
Okay, good. Fireworks going off. All kinds
Only
of stuff.
you can prevent forest fires, Robin.
Yeah, but not to dwell on my personal situation, but I've listened to a few of his songs recently. Just if you're in a melancholy mood, going through a few things, and then it's in such a key that I felt like I had to get out of it. And it's interesting, Robin, that you brought up Abracadabra, because I immediately go to that song. Mm-hmm. I have gone to that song many, many times just because of its beat, its feel, it just slams, it just gets in there and hits your soul. And, being in radio for 20 plus years, music is a huge part of my life. It's interwoven through everything that I do. So if I'm listening to a song, or if I send you a song and say, this reminds me of this, it means I've really thought about it. It's not like, oh, a great beat, I'm sending it to you. No, I have thought about this. Music, when I guess a couple months into my life, I was gravitating toward music. Like my mom said that I would perk up and, just immediately stop crying if she turned music on. So it's something that's ingrained in me. So listening to The Weeknd kind of brought me down.
Yeah. I'm guessing it brought you down, but it also probably felt somewhat cathartic at the same time. It's like junk food. I mean, not saying that his music is junk food, but you're consuming it in a way that's not helping. It's like, this feels good. It's scratching that itch in the moment, but it's not helping the whole problem. It's not something that's going to be long-term helpful. And I guess my direction I'm going with that, because I think we all do that. It doesn't hit you the same when you're not in that place.
But you have to come out of it. You can't sit and listen to sad songs all day, have that good cry, be pissed,
but
crumple up the Kleenex and then be done and go find something that's going to pull you back out.
And there's always been dark music. This is not the first time. And there's been, death metal and this or that. And you can think of remember the kids in high school that were into that. And it's like they dressed dark. There's always been dark music. It's not like this is new or anything like that. But I'm just speaking all across the board. If you just consume it, especially young minds, if you're 12, 13, 14, 15, and you're getting into music and understanding yourself, and you find yourself drawn into this because you may like the music. I listened to some of his stuff. I didn't know much of David, but I listened to it. I like R&B. I'm like, oh, I kind of like the music. I like the beat. I don't really relate to his lyrics or anything like that, but if I was around that age, I probably would have found it enjoyable in terms of the overall sound. But you get into that, and then at a younger age, you have no reps in life. You don't know how to get out of that. And you don't necessarily know that there's another side to anything either, if that's pretty much the only path that you've seen is this sort of art being put in front of you, and you basically are being programmed to consume it and like it more and more by the TikTok gods of the world that just keep feeding it to you. You don't get the option necessarily. We're back on the radio. You listen to what we decided you want to listen to.
That was the algorithm.
That was us going up, down, up, down. It wasn't just like, let's be Depress FM. But, looking back, maybe there should have been a Depress FM.
I was just going to say,
I think,
Delilah was kind of, not to slam Delilah, but it was, if you were going through heartbreak, you would tune in Delilah because it's all love songs and you'd probably end up crying, in the second hour and like, okay, I got to get away from this shit.
I guess it's the psyche that I'm trying to go at with all of this, that whole point, very long-winded, but I think we had to walk through those steps to get there. These kids that are consuming it this way, we all had dark stuff, yes, but we didn't have it punched at us and programmed specifically for each individual brain and each individual's idiosyncrasies that we have today. The music's always been there, but we didn't have it coming at us 50 different ways, and it's only that because it knows we're going to listen to that longer. That's very different than any way any other generation has ever been brought up or fed information at very formative ages.
Well, and the big reason for that gets fed like that too is because you have TikTok. And
yeah, it's on my point. Yeah.
Right. Because so when we were growing up, we had all these different segments throughout our day where, all right, I can sit at home and I can listen to the radio of the algorithm of Tony, what he's going to put on the radio. But at some point I got to go. I got to go to work. I got to go to school. I got to go mow lawns. I got to chop wood. I got to cut grass, all these types of things. So it puts us all in these different things. But what's going on a lot right now is, especially with this generation where the self-radicalization and the assassination culture is coming about, is because when people are feeling they have no purpose and there's no economic possibility for the future, and all these types of things are happening with a sector of that younger generation, it's easier than kept getting sucked into this algorithm of the self-radicalization, the echo chambers, which makes music like this even. It's not, well, I don't want to say music like this because there's elements, there's art here, but when you're actually consuming it as part of who you are, we are. So let's go back to the human behavior side.
Yeah.
100%. We are what we consume, both as nutrition as well as information. And if you are consuming nothing but these negative, dark thoughts, it is what's going to become who you are, is negative, dark thoughts. It's feeding that beast inside and letting it bloom instead of having to go all over the place. And when you're thinking about, Stacey, talking about songs you start off the day with, since, as you all know, I'm the eternal optimist, glass half full guy. I start out with, I'm an AC/DC Thunderstruck guy, man. I am up and going.
Yes.
And if I want some good poetry in life, I'm Meatloaf. Paradise by the Dashboard Light, man. There we go.
Friday at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Yep. That's what we used to play.
I need to share this. One of my best friend, we were driving in a car, and the car, it was a BMW, and it was just a gorgeous car. It was rented. And we're like, the stereo system is incredible. What should we play? And he suggested Thunderstruck. And I swear to God, I think I'm deaf, a little bit deaf because of that 4-minute experience. It was so loud, and the entire car just like blew up from the sound. It was so fabulous. That song just gets you going. I just had to share that.
And the story behind how it was made and how it came to be, I just love too. So it's just one of those things that, if you want to get pumped up, if you're having a bad day, put that on for a while. And also, it's funny, I got songs that represent my kids as well from movies that we watched together growing up. So I'll throw those on at a certain point throughout the day. And so even before coming on and talking with you all, I make sure we, good pump up music is, boy, you never know what we're going to talk about when we get on these things together, do we?
You don't. You don't. Well, I want to talk more about the music a little bit in terms of, again, he's never been charged with anything as of this moment. He maintains his innocence.
I got the line too.
All of that, everything's alleged, okay? So right now we're talking hypothetically about what could be going on here. And so hypothetically, let's say you're someone like D4VD and you have music that is fairly dark. It speaks to a certain mindset. It speaks to certain sects of the population who, are not in a great place. Certainly, it's not rocket science here to say that Celeste was not in a great place mentally if she's running away multiple times. Things aren't hunky-dory in her mind. I'm not saying they weren't hunky-dory at home. I have no idea what her home environment was like. But in her brain, that's what we're talking about. She wasn't in a good place. And you have the music that is being created by someone like this that would then attract that type of person to you. And if you're bringing in young girls that are feeling this way, look, I'm not saying the music is designed to be predatory, but it could be weaponized to be predatory if that's what your goal was with a child, because that kid's going to listen to that and go, oh, he gets me, he relates to me. And if you are predatory, You would act on that. If you're not, you'd be like, I'm glad my music speaks to you. Let me sign the autograph. Thanks for coming. It's going to be a brighter day, but I'm glad I can help you through it. If you're going the other direction, and I'm not saying he did, we don't know, but they are searching his drain pipes right now for bodily fluids, that it could be very easily weaponized.
Yeah, and it's interesting you put it that way too, and it could be weaponized. Now I keep going back to his age though, but again, he's been doing it since he's been 15. He's 20 years old now.
Not even consciously weaponizing it, I think, especially
Not
when you're
yet.
that young and you're going into like when you're that young.
I'll say not yet. So the way these things typically happen, when bad things eventually happen, when someone's going down that dark triad of life, it's not just 0 to 100. So I don't think someone at this age is intentionally weaponizing things or even thinking in that way. But what happens is if you see the effect that things are, the cause and effect of all your actions, the music you're putting out, and you're getting attracted, if you're attracting certain people to it, and they're worshiping you in certain ways. You're now going to start seeing the cause and effect for what you're doing. And so at a certain point, as your life arc is continuing, as in the case with Diddy, potentially, is that it's like, wow, if I do this, this, and this, and this is the cause and effect. So it becomes more of a conscious thought process. I don't think someone at the age of 20 has much of a conscious thought process going. They're very reactive emotionally to the world around them and the stimulus coming in. Even if he's been doing it for 5 years already, it still doesn't matter. The brain is not working right yet.
Yeah. I mean, I feel, again, all pure speculation. If this is him and if this was a predatory relationship, I feel like he was aging into being a predator and probably not even realizing he was becoming one, possibly. Right. I don't know. I mean, if it's taking people around him, and I don't know, to say, hey, dude, what the hell are you doing with this kid? And it's hitting like, what do you mean? Because just a year or two earlier, he was a kid too. Yeah. That would hit some, I don't know. I mean, it in no way am I excusing any of that. It is different though than if he was 40 and preying on this to a certain extent. He is 20, she was 15. It doesn't make this right or okay, but it is a different mindset, and the psychology is a bit different, and that needs to be taken into account when trying to understand the case. Doesn't make it right, wrong, doesn't do it, just trying to understand the psychology of what the hell is going on.
And especially at that age, the things we're doing at that age and throughout our lives, really, we're medicating trauma. Yes. And so, when you're doing a certain thing and you see the output someone's having or the behaviors they're having, the first thing I'm doing as a behavior guy is like, I'm all right, what caused that person to say this is a proper medication I'm self-medicating for something to happen in my life? And so that's why I always go through those life arcs. So as soon as I started taking a look at this in the last couple of days, Tony and Stacey and Todd, and then, the first thing I did is I was like, tell me about his family. I mean, I could actually go through my search terms. As soon as I found out of this, the first thing I do is I said, tell me about his background, his family, and where he grew up, all those things, so I can start identifying what would cause someone to create this kind of music or express himself in this way, or do matching tattoos, hypothetically, if that was it, so I'm always looking at, here's who we are today, what back here caused that behavior, because if it seems to be an unhealthy behavior towards your environment around you or how you're expressing yourself, typically unhealthy behavior is a medication that we've created for ourselves for something that happened earlier in life. And so, again, unless there's a seriously broken brain, Brian Koberger, seriously broken brain, there's also medication in there as well. But this is when typically we're seeing otherwise healthy people doing really unhealthy things. It's because it's a medication of some sort that we're choosing from the environment around us to satiate and allow us to feel safe, heard, expressed, seen. And so, yeah. There you go.
And when you're saying that, we should clarify, you're not saying like prescription, but you're just saying the whatever we're consuming, what we're consuming.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And expressing. Yeah.
Yes.
So definitely not on the medication side, all those, that's why some people get into drugs and alcohol.
Sure. I mean, it could be that. Yeah. Yeah. It's whatever we're medicating ourselves with, whatever that may possibly be.
Well, for some people it's music. For some people it's art. It's all kinds of different things.
100%.
I know a lot of people who medicate with food.
Yep.
So it's, whatever your drug of choice is, for some it's more destructive to others.
And that's why, again, I'm not a licensed clinician on this, but that's why most clinicians and psychotherapists and all these things, what they'll do is they will not put a Band-Aid on, hey, trying to get you to stop drinking. They'll actually, well, let's go back in history to see what actually are you medicating, because if we can deal with the medication aspect of what you're trying to solve by drinking, you'll stop wanting to drink. Then we'll deal with the addiction side of it as well, because, all the GABA and everything's going on in the brain, or whatever it is, any unhealthy behavior, you always want to go back to the root cause of what caused it. And so in cases like this, you want to, like with Celeste, what was going on? Because I tried researching this too with her, because I did a deep dive on him and I did a deep dive on her the best that we could through what's available out there. Is like, what would inspire someone to want to run away from home 3 or 4 times? What's going on in that family, what's going on in that background. There's not a lot of data on that, but I did see those overlays between the two of them. There's a lot of similarities I found between the two of them, potentially with a lot of people. And so that would be a potential magnet for each other.
Mm-hmm.
So
trauma bonding, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Trauma bonding to each other.
Yeah. Very much so. I like to medicate on Rick Astley. That's what I prefer to do. I like to get into. Come on, everybody! It's Friday.
Oh my God!
It's Friday, and all the hits. 102.8 Mix FM. This is Rick Astley. Never gonna give you up. Nothing to the.
Oh my God, he hit the post. You hear that, Todd? He totally nailed it.
Sing it again.
Full commitment's what I'm thinking of. You won't get this from any other guy. I just want to tell you how I'm feeling. Gotta make you understand. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna run around and desert you. There we go.
Now,
Robin's like, I'm giving up my family vacation time for this.
I may have actually, I don't know if it's true, but I may have seen Robin dancing a little bit. Is that true, Robin?
It's like, well, I'm doing true crime with Rick Astley.
The world needs more Rick.
I gotta tell you though, Tony, out of all the impressions I've heard you do of singing, that was probably the best we've heard all week.
Thank you. You should hear the house when I'm in the shower. It's like just Rickroll every morning. It's like shower goes on and like.
Yep. He probably has a disco ball that drops down and the lights start flashing in there when he's in the shower. So,
if we didn't
are we judging?
If we didn't bring some smiles to these tragedies, all we do is cry all day.
Exactly.
Hey, we got to find the happy somewhere, and if it's here and we make asses of ourselves, that's fine. That's what we do here. So
exactly.
So next Stacey will be doing abracadabra, is what we're saying.
Yes, it is Monday.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.